Every year, we make a video where we outline how much money we made in the preceding 12 months, how much money we've spent, and whether we've actually turned a profit. That's a slightly odd thing for a YouTube channel to do, but our whole business model is built on trust. We want you to know that we aren't being paid off by shady figures or being given jets by petrostates. And we want you to know that when we ask for help, we really need it. So let's do the whole thing again. Let's tell you how much money we've made, how much money we've spent, and if we've made any profit. Let's start with the fun part, the money we've earned. As you're likely painfully aware, YouTube runs programmatic ads against our content. These are the skippable and unskippable adverts which run before and during our videos. Now these are obviously annoying, no one's denying that, but they're incredibly useful, allowing your eyeballs to directly fund our content. Even if you pay for YouTube Premium in order to skip those ads, you watching our content still helps us out, as YouTube pays us a percentage of that premium membership fee whenever you watch TLDR videos. When it comes to the numbers, in the last 12 months, TLDR has racked up nearly 172 million views, earning us £376,942 and 37 pence in advertising revenue, or about 0.2 pence per view. When you break it down by channel, TLDR Global brought in the most money at £155,000, with TLDR EU on 104 and UK at 74,000. Our overall YouTube numbers are actually the highest they've been since we've started sharing this data, with views up 15% against last year and revenue up just over 13%. Now that's clearly good, but it does obviously mean that advertising revenue isn't keeping pace with viewership growth, especially when you take into account year-on-year inflation. Obviously, these programmatic YouTube ads aren't the only ones we run though. We also have regular sponsored segments from our partners like Ground News, Brilliant, or Henson Shaving. The way these sponsored segments work is that companies pay to sponsor a week's worth of TLDR content in one go, paying a flat fee to sponsor everything we release in an entire week. Now, because of the news cycle, and because we do these deals a while in advance, when companies sign up to sponsor TLDR videos, they have essentially no idea which topics we'll be covering, or even which channel those videos will appear on. They do get the ability to feedback on the sponsored segment itself, which is prepared in advance, but beyond that, they don't get any oversight over our journalism. That's a really great setup, and we do genuinely appreciate our sponsors for being so engaged and understanding, but it does mean that we have to turn down potentially more lucrative deals that don't fit with our ethics and journalism policies. All in all, these sponsorships represent a big chunk of our revenue, coming in at about £246,000 for the last year. Now this is actually down ever so slightly compared to last year, and that's mainly because in 2023-24 we had sponsor placements on essentially every single video. Now that's still broadly true, but now we do sometimes choose to forego a sponsor in a week in order to promote one of our own products, like Too Long. When we do that, we obviously forfeit the revenue that we would have made from those sponsors, leading to a slightly lower overall revenue, thanks in part to the drop in overall advertising slots available for sale. In addition to regular advertisers, we also make about £100,000 a year specifically from our relationship with Nebula. Now, I mentioned it a moment ago, so it's worth coming back to Too Long. As you probably already know, Too Long is the physical magazine that we produce every 4 months. In the last year, it's earned us £195,000, a nearly 100% increase on the year before. That jump is in part a result of us making more issues in 2024-25 than we did in 2023-24. But it's also because our sales and subscriptions are rising for each issue. In the last year, we've added over 1,500 subscribers, and the current issue, which isn't even fully included in our data for this period, is the best-selling so far. Now, Too Long isn't the only way that you can directly support us though. We also made nearly £15,000 from selling other things on our store, which at the moment is basically just our Every Alliance Explained poster, although we do plan on stocking some more merchandise very soon, so keep an eye out for that. We also earned nearly £25,000 from Patreon, YouTube memberships, and direct donations. Now, we don't actively engage with Patreon at this stage, but we're very appreciative of the fact that people still donate a couple of £1,000s a month through the platform. In addition to this, we've also earned about £10,000 from talks and events, with us occasionally being paid to attend events and conferences. Finally, we're currently the recipients of a grant from Google in order to support our work. Now, for contractual reasons, I'm not allowed to tell you too much about this agreement, but safe to say it doesn't impact our independence or journalism in any way. They do set some targets for the number of videos and shorts we ought to release, but they have absolutely no say in the content itself. In the last year, that's been worth just under £90,000, but that deal is about to come to an end. So that's all of the money we brought in the last year, coming in at a combined £1,056,121.27. Now, that might sound like a lot of money. After all, it's the highest revenue we've ever shared in one of these videos. But on the other side are still some pretty substantial costs. The most obvious of these is staffing. We think it's super important to have the best people possible and to pay them fairly. So for almost our entire existence, we've had a strict policy that everyone is not only paid for every second they work, but also paid a fair wage. There's no interns or free staff hours here at TLDR, and as such, we spend about £500,000 a year on staffing costs across the business. That includes wages, pension contributions, the cost of contractors, and overtime. We then pay another £151,040 in employee-related taxes and costs. These staff need somewhere to work and coordinate, so we currently spend about £110,000 a year on office space. Speaking of which, we recently completely changed around our studio and office space. So if you did want to see what that looks like, you should check out our studio tour in the most recent episode of our podcast, The Bullpen, which I'll talk about more in a moment. We also have to pay the local council about £30,000 a year in business rates for our office, plus an additional £114,000 to HMRC for corporation tax, adding up to quite a lot of tax altogether. Add to that general operating expenses, which come to a total of £171,824.88. Now that sounds like a lot of money, but it includes things like £6,000 on accounting fees, £5,000 on lawyers, £6,200 on insurance, £4,000 on office expenses, £12,000 to furnish, tech out and renovate our studios, £1,000 on internet access, £9,000 to license photos and videos, £4,000 for cleaning fees, £10,000 on travel costs, £13,000 to print too long, £38,000 to ship it, and £8,000 in VAT fees incurred when it's being shipped to European countries. Plus £7,000 for new office hardware, £2,500 for subscriptions to other news outlets, and £10,000 for other subscriptions, including a big chunk of that going to Adobe, Slack, Shopify, and Zendesk. All in all, that brings our cost for the year to £1,064,040. So weirdly, for a second year in a row, TLDR has managed to almost exactly break even, down to the penny, with us actually losing £7,918.73 in the last 12 months. Now, the good news is that some areas of the business are growing at the moment. YouTube revenue is up, but most significantly, the revenue earned from Too Long is up quite substantially. And we expect that to grow further over the next year or two. And it's good news that those areas of the business are forecast to increase, because other areas of our revenue are expected to drop over the next year, with the Google grant coming to an end and our projected Nebula revenue also dropping. As such, presuming costs remain about static, we're expecting to face a deficit of about £60,000 over the next year, and that's assuming that we do see increases in Too Long sales and YouTube viewership. If those things stayed the same as this year, we'd actually see a shortfall of about £150,000. Therefore, we're really hoping that we can get assistance from all of you to help grow these parts of the business. That's important, not just because we're really big fans of the magazine we make, but also because one key thing you won't notice on any of our lists is money from outside sources, venture capital revenue, or wealthy donors. I still own 100% of TLDR, and we've never taken money from anywhere besides the sources listed in these videos. And that means that if we don't close this gap, TLDR will be losing money as we head into 2025 and 2026. Now, we could try and find money elsewhere, seek buyers or investment, but we really think that running this on our own and ensuring that TLDR is controlled by us helps to prevent the kind of bias and interference that you might see and dislike at other mainstream outlets. It's obviously more difficult this way, but I hope that you agree that the extra effort is worth it in order to maintain our independence and prevent us from becoming beholden to any individual, group, or interest. So if you do want to support TLDR into the future, protect this business model, and allow us to continue creating independent and free journalism, then please do consider picking up a copy of our physical magazine, Too Long. As you can see, the latest issue is all about the ongoing crisis in the US, and if we're currently experiencing the end of the American order. In that section of the magazine, we discuss our thoughts on everything from the collapse of democratic norms to if America is losing allies, and if the country can maintain its dominance in energy and tech, before discussing who could potentially take over in a post-American world. So if you want to find out what we really think about America, now's your chance. It's not just the US either though. This issue is our longest ever at 78 pages. So we also get into stories like why El Salvador and Kosovo are becoming the world's penal colonies, if the UK is lacking vision at the moment, if Europe can really defend itself, and why leaders like Putin and Netanyahu seem to be getting away with it. Plus, we also have a full interview with Professor James Kerr-Lindsay, who you might also know from YouTube, all about the collapse of the global order. Now, if that all sounds good to you, but you'd rather listen than read along, then you should check out the premium edition. Because anyone who buys a premium edition of our magazine also gets access to our recordings of selected articles. Plus, you also get access to the full 90-minute interview with James Kerr-Lindsay. On top of that, premium subscribers also get access to our behind-the-scenes podcast, The Bullpen. Regardless of whether you opt for the regular or premium edition, if you never want to miss an issue, then make sure you subscribe to Too Long, which gets you 20% off every copy as long as you stay subscribed. Plus, if you really want to lend us a hand, all of our old issues are also still on sale. In fact, you can get this latest issue plus our spring edition for just $17.99. That spring issue saw us ranking all of the world's most influential people, and it really still stands up even today. So if you want our ranking of the world's most influential people, then it's available in this bundle. Or even bigger, for $39.99 you can get every issue we've ever made. That's truly one for the completionists. Either way, we really do appreciate your support, so please do check out the website. We do always appreciate how a community comes around to support us. It does mean a lot.